Hello peoples, it's Landon here and welcome back to my basement. Haven't been down here for several months just because of the January and February lull of not wanting to do anything. I have an acquaintance of mine who wants this future basement bedroom at the end of March. I need to frame, insulate, put in electrical, drywall in like 4 weeks. And the first thing I need to do, usually like with my previous condo, I would just start framing. But the home inspector says that the new Canadian building code requires that you put a vapor barrier on the actual concrete, which is going to be kind of interesting now that I have like the basement windows and the bracing in. I think the whole idea is just so you have like a plastic membrane between the concrete and the insulation that you're going to put in. I don't know, whatever. We'll just freaking do it, and it can't be that hard. It really only needs to be on like the side that you're most likely going to get frost on, so it doesn't need to go all the way to the bottom, which is probably good. You still want it to breathe, I'm assuming. So now that the vapor barrier is up, we can actually start framing. And the one thing about a braced basement is that because the braces come out quite a bit from the foundation, it becomes very obvious that your basement is braced, because what will happen is if I put up the walls, they're going to come up to here and your window well is going to be like this big. So to help mitigate at least a little bit of it, it's going to take off about 1 inch. I'm going to notch the bottom and top plates of the framing. It's actually pretty easy to notch a 2x4. All you really got to do is like jigsaw down 2 spots and then take a flathead screwdriver and just use a hammer to push it in and it'll just pop out. And now that we have our 2 notches, we can just simply trace the notches on another identical 2x4 and do the same thing for the top plate as well. After you're done notching the second one, you're just going to place it on top of the other one just to make sure it fits properly within the bracing. You're just going to take your measuring tape and you're going to measure the distance between the 2 plates, which will be there, and to the ceiling. And that will be the length of your next 2x4s for your framing. We have clay soil, and hence why the bracing. Our soil contracts and expands all the time. We have to do what is called floating basement walls, which basically means that you don't want your walls completely snug to the top, because if your foundation moves, it can like lift your entire house, which is not a good thing. So I usually go with about 2 inches of clearance. So you're going to measure the distance between the top of the second plate to the ceiling and then minus 2 inches. So it is 87 inches approximately, so we're going to do it 85. We've done our first cut, and so that will go in between the 2 plates. I had to grab my permit because I forgot if I'm doing 16 inches on center or if I'm doing 24 inches on center. I think I'm doing 24. Foundation framing 24 inches on center. Cool. So that's really, like 24 inches on center is fine when you're in a basement. You don't have any supporting walls. There's no wind blowing the walls. So 24 inches on center is like perfectly fine. The only downside is like if someone was like doing wrestling in the basement and was like thrown into the wall, your drywall has a little bit less, I don't know, rigidity to it, I guess. Now, if you notice, the window will be in the way. So you'll have to do 85 inches here and here, but then the last 2 over here will only go up to here. So we'll have to make a plate over here. Looks like it's about 56.5 inches. So we got the wall coming along. One of the things that you want to do is when you're cutting your 2x4s, you're going to have like some wonky cuts. So you want to alternate your cuts when you're making the wall. So like you want to do smooth and then cut and then cut and then smooth and just back and forth like that, just to sort of keep it nice and rigid. And there we go, people. We got our wall. So let's see how I measured and see if it makes it. Ooh, look at that. So now that we know it fits, we can just use a level to make sure it's level and tack it in. We can always like move the bottom part in and out. We'll eventually anchor it, but it gives us some wiggle room if we could just simply tack it in at the top. It's just about to bite on that one, so just as a precautionary measure, I mean the wall should be following the joist direction, because like one would assume that it would be straight. But it's always a good idea just to grab an L tool and then just put up a 2x4 and just double check to make sure that it's straight. And it's not really straight. And that one's good. Perfect. So that's kind of where we want to be. And there we go. We got our wall. Only have to do that about 200 more times down here. Hopefully you guys are doing well, and we'll talk to you later. I'll keep you guys updated of all the future excitement that's going to happen in the house in the next little while. So talk to you later. Bye-bye.